House of the Dragon is back, and season 3 started off with a bang because the war is finally here, and we get to see the biggest and bloodiest naval battle in Westeros history, the Battle of the Gullet. Before we get into everything that happened in this episode, I gotta talk about the opening credits. That new riff on the Game of Thrones theme song is even harder with the drums, and it makes it sound more like a Martin song, considering we are at the Dance of the Dragons. And honestly, it never gets old. It just feels like the show is telling us, yeah, we're past diplomacy now. It's about to get real. Welcome back to the channel, man. Today we're gonna be breaking down House of the Dragon season 3, episode 1, book and show comparisons from Fire and Blood, and obviously major spoilers ahead. Let's go. The episode starts off in the Vale, and we see Rhaenyra Targaryen as she's still tracking Sheep Stealer as she was at the end of season 2. And hey, yo, for those who don't know, Sheep Stealer is a massive wild dragon who basically just goes through livestock. Really earned his name. It's like Duke Tango giving an N1 player his name. But this moment is going to be real important because Rhaenyra isn't just really chasing the dragon; she's chasing validation. Literally everybody around her has a dragon. I mean, Baylor has Moon Dancer, Jace has Vermax. I mean, even her family legacy feels defined by dragons, and she hasn't bonded with any of them. When she approaches Sheep Stealer, it's not about bravery, it's really about desperation. You know, she climbed onto his back, and for a moment, she becomes exactly what she wanted to be. You know, she gets on Sheep Stealer, she kind of calms him down a little bit, and she's a dragon rider now. However, she still just immediately jumps off the cliff, and we just see them going down before the opening credits ran. And we don't know what the hell happened to Rhaenyra at that point. This was also Sheep Stealer letting Rhaenyra know, like, hey, I ain't just a big ass horse with wings, you know what I'm saying? I'm not yours just yet. You just right here. I mean, he was basically testing it, you know what I'm saying? He ended up throwing it to the ground and everything, but she ended up getting up and oh my God. Take a shot every time you heard her say, oh, baby, in this episode. But he basically hit her with that, nah, I'm cool, and then just flew off. But don't worry, he ended up coming back, peeps up a couple of sheep, burns it, gives it to her, and she just basically went in, which, hey, I get it, you gotta do what you gotta do, but yeah, that was literally just right in this dragon mouth, fam. But it was a nice bonding moment, you know, a girl and her dragon, you know, so cute. More on that later. Now, in Fire and Blood, Sheep Stealer is not bonded to Rhaenyra. You know, he is claimed by Nettles, who was one of the most important dragon seeds of the dance. Nettles basically earned Sheep Stealer's trust through basically feeding him sheep every day and just being patient and allowing Sheep Stealer to come to her. She also becomes closely tied to Daemon Targaryen, which is kind of one of those weird threads in the entire book because there's so many theories behind that relationship. But with them cutting out Nettles and giving her storyline to Rhaenyra, that basically changes up a lot. You know, Daemon's later arc, you know, the Dragon Seed storyline and the tension of the Riverlands plot. But most importantly, it ends up elevating Rhaenyra from a background character to an active war participant, which she wasn't in the book. And just going back to what I was saying about the relationship that Daemon and Nettles had, while some of the sources in the book claim that the two became lovers, it is just likely that Daemon is just Nettie's father, which is the interpretation that I've always favored. Because as we see later on in this episode, y'all got to chill out with all the incest in the Targaryen family. You know, like y'all just take stuff. Now, granted, the damn show started with a brother and sister, but man, look, yeah, moving on. Now, back in King's Landing, we see Alicent Hightower make a move that nobody expected, and she's trying to actually end the war. At the end of season 2, we see her offer Rhaenyra the city. You know, like Aegon is bedridden and can't move, so she's like, "Hey, you can come chop his head off. We're gonna do the son versus son the right way this time. No blood and cheese situation. All I ask for is that me, Helena, and Jacerys, we get full passage, we immune, you can kill everybody else, I don't give a damn." Because Alicent isn't stupid, you know. Like, she knows that, yeah, Aemond might got Vhagar, but they got about 50, 11 dragons over here, and yeah, they are ready to burn everything, no Seth Rollins. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and end this right now. But there's a problem. Aegon done broke out. You know, after Rook's Rest, the Greens basically have a huge problem on their hand. You know, Aegon II, who was the man sitting on the throne, he is no longer capable of leading. At the end of season 2, he got his ass burnt to a crisp by his own brother. I mean, his body is destroyed, Sunfire is severely wounded, and the entire faction is suddenly left without a strong figurehead. I mean, his body is destroyed and Sunfire is severely wounded, you know, so like we saw at the end of season 2, Lars then basically just took him and was like, hey, I done moved some gold over here. I'm gonna take you with me. We're gonna let you recover. So by the time Rhaenyra and Aemond go ahead and kill each other, we're gonna bring you back as the true king and the true savior of King's Landing. And hey, All will be well in your name. But with him leaving, that leaves a huge power vacuum in the Red Keep. And who else better to take over than his brother Aemond? Now, in the book Fire and Blood, this moment created a major political struggle inside the Green Council. Now, Alicent believes that she could take control as Queen Regent. I mean, after all, she did help build the entire political machine. She does understand the court, she understands the game, and she's been the person guiding Aegon for years. But punk ass Sir Christian Cole sees things way differently. I'll also get to him in a little bit. To Cole, this is no longer about a political battle. This is war, and war needs warriors. When you even think about how he became the King's Hand in the first place, the Aegon, it was all about the fact that, they killed my son. They killed my son, and Otto over here talking about trying to, parade him to look. I ain't trying to hear all that. It's time to be dropping bodies and actually, Otto, you was my people's in hand. You ain't even mine. So go ahead and give my boy Kristen Cole your badge, and you can go ahead and break out. So instead of putting Alicent in charge, the council turned to the person that they believe can actually win the conflict, and that is Prince Aemond Targaryen. So they ended up naming him the Protector of the Realm. Back in Dragonstone, we see Rhaenyra all happy and lit, and about the secret visit that she had with Alicent and the deal that they made to go ahead and end this war peacefully. Because technically, Alicent wasn't lying. Aegon is bedridden, so she finna fly to the city with her dragons and take control. But Jason, her counselor, looking at her like, yeah, bro, I don't even know if he should be trying to trust her this easily, considering her history. Bro, back to Aemond real quick, dog. Literally, as soon as he got into power, the first thing we see him do is attack Grand Maester Orwell. And I ain't gonna lie, considering we just got through Juneteenth and it was Father's Day, I was like, I don't like how this is looking right now. He literally grabbed this man out of bed and was about to behead him because he thought he had something to do with Aegon disappearing. But luckily, he got stopped at the last minute and was told that Lars is actually the one that ended up disappearing with Aegon. But I was like, damn, bro, like this is what we doing? Fam ain't even been in power for 10 minutes yet, and he done took control of the Greens, sits on the Iron Throne. I'm talking about with no coronation, no ceremony, just straight aura. And I ain't gonna lie, that was a nice ass picture. But that says everything about Aemond. He doesn't believe in legitimacy anymore. It's just only strength. On top of that, he done called up Lord Ormond and 15,000 Hightower men to join him along with Daemon and his dragon. So, bro, this man is wilding already. On top of that, the Triarchy is coming for Corlys Valerian's head to break the blockade on the city. I mean, they have a long history with both Corlys and Daemon Targaryen because of the wars over the Stepstone. So it's already bad blood there. So when the Greens offer them money, power, and chance for revenge, I mean, shit, the Triarchy accepted with no hesitation.
Shit, Negro, that's all you had to say.
I mean, fam even took up Aegon the Conqueror's crown, put it on his head and basically declared that he was always meant for this. This isn't just him stepping in for his injured brother. This is him taking control. Like the boy who spent his entire life in Aegon's shadow is now standing above him, and I don't see him letting that power go anytime soon. One of my favorite characters is Elena because we see her and Alicent having a conversation, and she basically tells her the one thing that everyone is ignoring. Aemond is actually afraid, not of politics, not of power or failure.
He knows that if he has to face Rhaenyra's dragons, he'll die.
We also see Alicent trying to keep her plan but we also see Alicent trying to do everything she can to keep her plan on track, falsifying a letter to Lord Ormond, basically telling him to wait 3 days before he shows up. So that way that'll give Rhaenyra enough time for her reinforcements to come and to try to get Aemond up out of King's Landing. We see Alicent talking to Aemond back in the Red Keep, and she's desperately trying to get him to go to Harrenhal, so she can keep her deal with Rhaenyra alive. She's telling him how courageous he is and putting her hands on his face and hand, and I cannot lose you like I did Aegon. If I do, I will be lost, and all this good stuff. But the damage is already done because Aemond leaned in and kissed her, and oh my God, bro, this shit was very unnecessary. Like, look, we know that Game of Thrones has, a history of incest in the show, and, whatever they did back in that time period was on them. But there was literally no reason for you to put Aemond kissing his mom in this show. And the look on Alicent's face said it all. Now, I do feel like if she didn't need for Aemond to get the hell up out of King's Landing, she probably would have most likely pulled, she would have pulled away and was like, what the hell are you doing? But when I tell you the way that her and Emma Darcy, aka Rhaenyra, be telling stories with their face, just bravo, ladies, because in that little brief, disgusting moment, you can see every single emotion that she was going through. Yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie. That's the one thing that kept me from giving this episode like a 10 out of 10 because it was just what the fuck, bro. Meanwhile, Aegon is literally hiding in a Raven cart. I mean, broken, needing some milk of the poppy. He's humiliated, lost, don't know what the hell is going on. He literally says, I'm the king of nothing with raven shit for a throne. They ended up getting stopped by some soldiers that demanded that they bend the knee for Queen Rhaenyra, and Lars immediately bends. He was like, all right, cool. Because yes, Lars Strong is weird as hell, but he always adapts. You know, he don't really care about kings. He cares about the outcomes. Obviously, Aegon's ego and pride was not going to allow him to do that. So Lars already could tell what was about to happen. So he was like,
It's because he is Aegon Targaryen. What?
I thought this was absolutely hilarious. And even though we don't know what the long game is, he basically did a great job of buying both of them time because they was literally about to get beheaded. He asked them, hey, are them two back there anybody? As soon as he said nope, I don't know about y'all, but it's damn sure good to see my boy Daemon out of Harrenhal. He's finally stopping having them LSD acid trips, and he is back doing what he does best. Because we see him in the Riverlands doing exactly what Daemon does best, destroying armies, bruh. Carax was out there burning through all the House Lannister forces like it wasn't nothing. The OGs, nah, literally, they old. They old as hell. But it's the Northmen called the Winter Wolves that Jace ended up securing at the beginning of the season 2. And they led by good old Roddy the Ruin, who offers Daemon the head of Jason Lannister. Yo, the way he just dumped it and just threw his hands up and was like, we have come to die for the Dragon Queen. That part got me lit as hell, though, because that's a quote directly from the book. Let me get to Sir Christian Cole real quick, because I see why Alicent was drinking that moon tea, bro, because I wouldn't want to have the baby by your ass either. But we see him sitting in the forest camp. He over here playing arts and crafts while his men out here assaulting women and stuff like that. It's like after his encounter with them dragons, he's not the knight who believes in honor anymore. You know, he's not the commander who believes in purpose. He's just there. And that might be the most dangerous version of him yet, because it makes him unpredictable.
We are not beasts, but knights and soldiers of honor.
Tristan is trying to excuse it on some
doom and ruin surround us. We will all become beasts before our end.
Only if we abandon our principles.
And yeah, Gawain, you might be a little bit too nice for this world. I'm hoping the best for you, but yeah, I could definitely see Tristan doing some hoe ass shit to your fam. I'm sorry. Back in Harrenhal, we catch up with the dragon scenes of Adam and Hugh as they preparing for war. Now, them when they drag the posted up in the Isle of Faces, which is a large island in the center of a huge lake called the God's Eye, and they waiting for Aemond to show up with Vhagar. Like, Ulf talks way too much, fam. He dreams big and immediately regrets existing in the storyline, as you can already tell. He makes it clear off top that he really only for one thing, and that's to get a castle, which is hilarious because he instantly explained to him, like, nah, bro, you just a knight. All we finna get is a horse. You ain't finna get no damn castle. And his reaction told me everything that I need to know right there. So it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up betraying Team Black to go to Team Green because they might actually offer him a castle because that's all it's literally gonna take for him. We see a strange antler-looking figure, which could be a reference to the Green Man. It's the mythical guardians of the children of the forest. And then to make things worse, Alice Rivers arrives. You know, she's calm, unbothered, always knowing she was the one that had Daemon on that LSD trip back in Harrenhal. But she tells the dragon that they're actually missing the real battle at the gullet and then leaves everybody confused and terrified. I died laughing when Ulf was basically like, nope. Back at Dragonstone, we see Rhaenyra sharing her plan to fly to King's Landing, you know, take the throne, having been assured at the end of season 2 by Alicent that it'll just be so easily. Now, I keep giving Alicent shit, but she didn't know any of this was going to go horribly wrong until she got back to the crib. So I can't fully blame her for what's about to happen. But before Rhaenyra could even decide, Jace takes control and was like, mama, no, stop believing this lady. Now, granted, the first couple of seasons they have like went super deep into the friendship between Rhaenyra and Alicent. And I get it, you know, to make it seem more emotional. But at what point do you got to stop trusting this damn lady and just be like, nah, fam? But before Rhaenyra can even fully decide what she gonna do, Jace was like, yeah, man, I ain't trying to hear that. Like, look at everything she's done. At what point do you put the friendship to the side and be like, nah, F that, kill her? And it's not like you can't understand where Jason's coming from. You know what I'm saying? This lady is responsible for my brother being dead. And the last thing I want to do is see you flying over there because of her word that everything is going to be easy, and then I end up losing you too. Now, granted, Rhaenyra wasn't trying to hear none of that, but she was just like, well, I guess that means you'll be Dick's king then. So as she's getting her hair rebraided, you know what I'm saying, changing to her riding letter, Jace has Sir Laurent bar the door, locking her in so that way she couldn't leave. And it shouldn't have been funny, but I definitely bust that laughing when she was like,
you open the fucking door!
So we end up seeing him and Baylor actually leave to go fight in the battle instead of her. But in that moment, though, the war stops being external. It becomes internal. Because Rhaenyra is no longer just the queen. She is a mother losing authority over her own damn child. But she feels betrayed by her own son, and I can understand that, though. You know, she was like, I don't care when everybody else do it to me, but the fact that my own son is treating me like I'm a burden, like I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, that I can understand like the extra hurt on that part. And when you think about what happens at the end of this episode, yeah, that's a terrible, terrible ass interaction. Now, this never happened in the book. As far as we know, Rhaenyra and Jace were together on battle plans, and it was on her orders that he actually joined the battle, not the brash and impulsiveness of the prince. But in the show, they got him real reactive and reckless, which makes his fate feel less like a battlefield inevitability and more like a tragic consequence of trying to act before anyone else does. Woo. All right. Now, before we get to this insane battle that takes up the entire second half of the episode, if you're enjoying this breakdown, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. You know, we're going to be doing these deep dives like all season, so you're finna get me for the next 8 weeks. And I know you ain't going to want to miss what's coming next. At sea, we see my boy Corlys Velaryon and Alicent preparing for one of the largest naval battles in Westeros history. They taking a couple shots on the queen that never was bold, and as soon as they were having a nice little father-son moment, you know, Corlys basically trying to apologize for not being there for him and not giving him a better life. And Alan is on some, yeah, I hear what you're saying and all that, but all you had to do was just give us your name. You know, life could have been so much better. You know, I see what you're up here doing with your other kids, but hey, it's like one of those situations where like your pops got 2 families staying across the street, and you know that, and you just see him doing. Anyway, that's a whole different story. My bad. But it was also funny considering the fact that it was Father's Day when this episode released, and we see Corlys trying to get back in his son's life. But all of that got interrupted, though, because the alarm started going off and the Triarchy approached 53 ships deep, bruh, led by Siraka Lohar. And yo, when I tell you they attacked them with overwhelming force, they was fucking the Valerian ships up, bruh. As soon as Lahar found out that Corlys was actually one that was leading that ship, her whole dynamic changed. She said, man, forget this Lannister bullshit. I'm finna go ahead and settle the debt. And for a moment, it looked like the blockade was actually about to collapse. And then the dragon showed up. Jason Baylor arrived on Vermax and Moondancer. I'm talking about ships that seemed unstoppable became floating targets. You know, Dragonfire was tearing through all the ships. The Greens plan started to fall apart. But this is the problem with using dragons in war. Because yes, they are powerful and terrifying, but they are not invincible. Because like I was saying earlier, Lahar and I already encountered a dragon before, so she already had the weapons on deck. She already has a nice extensive history with Daemon Targaryen, so she was already prepared for this because she ended up shooting Vermax with the spear. And yo, when he started to sink, I was like, oh, damn, this is how you finna go out already? But man, shout out to Baylor, dog, because she was definitely the MVP of this episode. Because she ended up cutting the spear and the anchor and freeing them both. But here's my question, though. Why the hell couldn't Vermax just burn the damn rope with fire? Now, with everything going wrong, Corlys set a plan to lure Lahar into the Dragonstone Pass, which is a low tide to run her aground. Hey, man, one time for Corlys, man, because he was swinging that ship like it was a Delta 88 that ran out of power steering fully. He was on it, man. Hey, that was some of the best navigation I've never seen in my life. And for a little bit, his plan was actually working. You know, Lahar was struggling to follow behind him at first, but dog, to lighten up weight on the ship, she started kicking all the Lannister men off because they had all that armor on. But it ended up allowing her to pass through and catching up to Corlys. And hey, yo, the way they drove into the queen that never was, it was absolutely beautiful. But even before that, though, Corlys ended up setting the high tide on fire. He ended up freezing up. So, you know what? I changed my mind. Actually, Alan is the MVP of this episode. Because as soon as Corlys froze up and passed out, basically, Alan took charge and was like, hey, you know what? I got it, fam. And once Corlys actually woke up in the storm of battle, he and Lahar finally began to make their way to each other. And oh my God, the fight scenes on this ship was absolutely phenomenal. When I tell you people was getting messed up at the Battle of the Gullet, yeah, this was bloody. This was definitely bloody. I'm a little disappointed because I wanted to see more, honestly. You can judge me if you want to, but I feel like I know they probably spent all the budget on the dragon. That's probably only why we got 3 dragons at the battle, because they weren't gonna be able to get all of them, which I'll definitely get to that also. But yeah, man, sea snakes are getting fucked up. Now, in the midst of all this, we do see Rhaenyra somewhat securely on board Sheepstealer, and they're flying towards Dragonstone. But before they can get there, Sheepstealer ends up sensing the battle, and Rhaenyra, with her eagerness and like, hey, I got a new dragon, was like, yes, let's go help. So they end up flying to join the fight instead of going back to Dragonstone like they was told to do originally. And she quickly finds out that this dragon is out of control because he ends up burning Valerian and Triarchy ships. He didn't give a damn. He don't know friend from foe. He was living by himself, rider free for the longest. He's barely tolerating you. And then you was like, yeah, bro, let me go ahead and just take Cujo out here to this battle real quick and let's see what happens. Just, bruh, how stupid can you really be? She still end up going after Balin Moon Dancer too, and Tear, she over there talking about some, oh baby, no, Sheep still listen to my command. Man, shut the hell up. You should have just took your ass home. And the result of all that is exactly what you'd expect to happen when you got dragon on dragon on dragon chaos. Because while all this is going on in the sky, Rhaenyra is crying to Sheep still to stop. Jace rides in on Verimax to fight. You know, he just thinking this is a wild dragon that's with the enemy. So when he tells Verimax to kill the rider, he didn't realize it was his cousin until it was almost too late. He ends up veering away, and as he's trying to escape from Sheepstealer, Verimax ends up getting shot with another harpoon in the chest, and oh my God, bro. It literally hit him in the chest and started to pull him down the sea, and as he's drowning, Jason's up there talking about some fly. Nigga, how? It is a wrap, fam. It is kind of messed up, though, that the first time you get a real good close-up on Verimax's face is when him drowning in pain. But RP Verimax because he ended up sinking to the bottom of the sea. But all hope is not lost, though, because Jace ended up unhooking himself and swims for it, you know, getting out of the water and escaping. I'm just messing with you. He ended up getting shot in the back with an arrow, and that look on his face was like, did somebody just shoot me? And then as soon as he turned around, caught another arrow to the neck, you start to hear the people on the boat cheering and laughing their ass off. And then the episode literally ends with Jason's body floating in the water while we see the one last remaining dragon flying over all the wreckage at the Battle of the Gullet. And although that shouldn't have been funny, hey man, that's had me cracking up. Now, granted, for those who've read the book, we all knew what was going to happen to Jace. But obviously, the way they changed it was a little bit different. But just like that, the heir to the Iron Throne is gone. You know, no speech, no final stand, just war finishing what it started. But you know, this could have probably went a little bit better if Rhaenyra Targaryen, dumbass, did not decide to join the fight. The queen gave you one job: to stay with the children and guard the dragon eggs with your life. I mean, you ain't got no dragon, so you can at least protect the damn eggs. But instead, you so desperate to claim a dragon and join the fight, you led to Jace's death. Well, you partly responsible. He's responsible too. Like, I don't know what it is with these kids and these dragons, dog. They get dragons and they start acting like Georgia recruits when they get Hellcats. It's like they done lock Kirby Smart in his bedroom and they decide to go out racing. I mean, Rhaenyra pulled a Darian Fox. Team Black went full Spurs in game 4 of the NBA Finals. I mean, Rhaenyra needs to be benched for the rest of the series, fam. All you had to do was stay your ass in the Vale. Just freaking stupid, dog. Now, to be fair, this is a recurring callback to what Jacerys said in season 1 about the idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They're a power man should never have trifled with. It makes sense for them to have an agency will of their own and instincts to follow their clashes occasionally with their riders. Valerian was born at the area and took her to old Valeria against her will before bringing her back with diseases. Like I said, Drogon attacked children against Dany's wishes. I think Cyrex taught Joffrey against Rhaenyra's wishes. Hell, Silver Wing defied Alicent and refused to fly beyond the wild. So it's not like dragons haven't defied this rider before. I mean, you can compare Aemond's inability to prevent Rhaegar from killing Luke at the end of season 1 and Rhaenyra's inability to control Sheepstealer. But also on top of that, Sheepstealer and Rhaenyra hasn't even really bonded yet. They've probably been together, what, like 6 minutes before they decide to even like go back to Dragonstone. Yes, Rhaenyra is an absolute idiot for even being on board with Sheepstealer going to the war and telling him to burn everything in the first place. So she definitely deserves some type of blame in this. But let's not sit here and act like dragons haven't defied their master before. So I just want to be fair. I'm 80-20 that Rhaenyra is an absolute idiot for sure. But I'll at least give her some type of grace because she's not the only person who's had the dragon, you know, not listened to him before. The season 3 premiere focuses on the Battle of the Gullet, which once again is the largest and most devastating naval battle in the history of Westeros. But in the books, it actually began with the ship transporting Rhaenyra's children on the gay Abaddon, which is seized by the Triarchy. Now, Aegon III is able to escape on the back of Stormcloud, but the dragon got berated with arrows and he ends up dying later. But he ended up leaving his younger brother Viserys II behind. And for years, the Targaryens thought Viserys was dead, but he ended up being passed around as property until Alan Valerian ended up purchasing his freedom and bringing him home. But back to the battle though, because in the book, Jace is actually joined by the other dragon riders for Jean Black. You know, Jace is on Vermax, Ulf the White is on Silverwing, Nettles was on Sheepstealer, Adam was on Sea Smoke, and Hugh was on Vermithor. Baylor was not a part of this battle at all because Moondancer was too damn small. But in the show, they got Jace and her flying the wars and left Hugh, Ulf, and Adam on the sideline. So yeah, that was a weird change that they made. There's been a lot of Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, Knights of the Seven Kingdom, whatever lore that you want to say that has caused all type of divisiveness when it comes to the Game of Thrones fandom. But the way that Jay's death is portrayed in this show is probably going to be one of the biggest ones because in the book, he dies more of a larger battle event. He was acting more like the Prince of Dragonstone. So him getting together and riding with all the other dragon riders on some Power Rangers type shit and going and wreck shop is exactly what they really should have portrayed. In the show, I feel like his death is going to be more personal. You know, it's tied to Rhaenyra's decisions. You know, it's tied to his own urgency and it's tied to the collapse of the Black unity. It basically transformed his death from a historical event into more of an emotional rupture. Also in the book, his body ended up getting lost underwater and it was never recovered. But as we saw with the trailer for season 2, it looks like Baylor is going to bring his body back to Dragonstone. And oh my God, I know Rhaenyra is about to lose her shit. So the sheep stealer thing wouldn't have really bothered me that much because yes, although I would love to see Nettie, it's just the fact that sheep stealer being directly responsible for the death of Jason Vermax creates another problem, which is the fact that Luke also died because of Aemond's dragon Vhagar defied his order and killed Luke and his dragon Arax. The two deaths are now strikingly similar. Literally, both Rhaenyra's oldest sons died because a Lord Dragon defied his youngest rider and loses control. I mean, if they own some, you live by the dragon, you die by the dragon, then cool. To me, it just missed the mark and it comes off as repetitive. I mean, who's writing this? Triple H? Rhaenyra's involvement in Jason's death also remixes a key arc in Fire and Blood too, which is Rhaenyra's hatred of Sheep Stealer's rider. Obviously, there's no Nettles or hate in the show, so House of the Dragon is basically retooling it. So instead of Rhaenyra despising Nettles for her closeness to Daemon, she'll likely just wind up hating Rhaenyra for the role she played in Jason's death. Hell, in Fire and Blood, Jason's death is what kind of led Rhaenyra to go more revenge heavy. So I know we're about to see a whole different Queen moving forward this season. And Rhaenyra, in her desperate attempt to be a hero, has accidentally caused the death of her cousin. I know that guilt is going to eat her alive moving forward. I mean, this episode ended on nothing but loss. I mean, you can say Team Black won this battle, but did they really? I mean, Corlys is missing, Jace is dead, and while King's Landing is vulnerable, Rhaenyra is more broken than ever, dog. So the question is no longer if Rhaenyra would take King's Landing, but what kind of queen is she going to be when she gets there? Is she going to demand justice, or is she going to just burn it off? What did you think of the Battle of the Gullet, and did it live up to your expectations? Let us know your own theories in the comment section below, and if you want more breakdown like this every week, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because yeah, if this premiere is anything to go by, this dance is only getting worse from here, man. And I'm out.